good to see you in here. It's good to see people who who are in here that pay attention and listen. It's really appreciative. Good morning, Pops. I want to start with a collective message here. You might want to stay tuned here, and we're just going to go get into it. Today might seem like a day where you were all up in your head or there's just too much going on inside. And this is a day for grounding and stability. It's you see me with the root bowl here, and we'll get into that. Because today might be one of those days where you just need to tell your mind to sit down and shut up. Because feeding any dialogue or any energy right now will take you into that thought stream like this. In other words, you can on the surface, you can take anything that you think and run with it right now with this energy, right? And it's one of the reasons why I'm on here, because grounding and stability is probably one of the utmost importance right now, is what Spirit is saying. And we need to learn how to ground these energies in or ground them out, is what Spirit is saying. So, with much deliberation, we come to this entrainment or this realization that we are no longer in this panic energy where we're freaking out about everything, or we're overthinking everything, or we have to overprocess everything. We're in a more flowy energy, a more intelligent energy, and a smoother vibration, as long as we're in acceptance to associate ourselves or kind of like harmonize ourselves or become in tune with ourselves or align ourselves to this new energy that's upon us right now, that can seem on the surface very chaotic. But when you get underneath the levels and you bring it down and you bring it down and you bring it down and you calm yourself down, and you no longer feed any thoughts that are inside of your mind at this moment, you allow yourself to appreciate the emptiness or the silence that is associated with an intention that has to come from inside of you. You know what I'm saying? Dig deep is what Spirit is saying, because it has the ability to take all this surface level stuff and allow you to see things clearly and pull it away, right? So when we say harmonize, one of the easiest ways for us besides the breath to do that is to just listen to a tone and allow that embodiment of the tone itself, right? Which is why sound healing is so beautiful, because it's not about what you're thinking. The only focus is to absorb the sound energy and feel through it and allow it to flow through you to create balance and harmony in your energetic system and create more alignment, clarity, harmonization. It creates a silence in your mind, dude, that you no longer have to fucking feed. And, that's the best way that I could say it for this example, which is a little brutish, Spirit just told me, but also at the same time, we have to be mindful of the fact that we have a decision to make on where we want to be and how we want to act in it, not only in every moment, but when we wake up in the morning, or when someone pisses us off, or when the bills come in, or you're agitated, or you're just, you know what I'm saying? There's things that create all this pressure that want to put you in a survival mode where you don't belong. And this is that thought stream that Spirit is talking about, that we have access to on the surface, but we're being asked to look at the deeper layers of ourselves and a deeper understanding of ourselves and find a groundedness and a stability like no other. Because the panicking, the anxiety, the suffering is something that happens on the surface because we are unconscious of the situations that are going on inside of us energetically. So it's hard to pick up on those things. It's like, well, how do I do that? Well, the simplest way, unless you come into the space with us and we give you counsel and show you the details of these things, one of the simplest ways that you can do that is reharmonize yourself with the natural frequency of the planet. Realign with your natural frequency of stillness, of some sort of harmony or peace that doesn't allow you to experience the panic that is on the surface level that a lot of people are experiencing right now. What's up, Tanya? So the Spirit is using the term manic, right? So this is like a manic energy where it just wants, your thoughts want to carry you away and make you feel something that, some type of, hypertension, anxiety, stress, all this stuff on the surface. But when you release yourself from that unconscious stream, okay, is what Spirit says, when you release yourself from that unconscious stream, you realize that there's a deeper level of harmonization and understanding within yourself. And then things start to calm down, and then things become more peaceful and they become more clear, right? And when you're in this place, when you're in this space, it's important for us to realize that it's time to enact this way. It's not necessarily about comfort. It's about realizing that the uncomfort that we created for ourselves, but realigning ourselves, has put us in a different direction. Like, we're not sitting here absorbing the unconscious stream of thinking in the air right now, you know, that a lot of people don't realize they have access to on a consistent basis, because everything is energy, and our minds perceive energy, and our hearts responds to those also to that energy, because everything is a frequency. And not only do we have a brain here, we have a brain here, and we have a brain down here, that are all receiving these messages and putting them out simultaneously. And that's how energy flows and goes, right? But when it's chaotic and we're absorbing this stream of manic, whatever the fuck it is, or thoughts or anxiety or whatever it may stem from today that is problematic, it is on the surface. It is beneath you. You know what I'm saying? And you have to rise above it, but it comes with maybe an unconscious intention that says, fuck it, I don't want to be like this anymore. I don't want to feel this shit anymore. I'm tired of being like this. You know, and then you realize that you've done this before, because every time that you haven't wanted to feel something, you've already asked the universe, hey, look, I don't want to feel this shit anymore. But then you don't realize that you manifest a lesson as to why you're feeling it in the first place. Not realizing that all this stuff is coming in because we can't stop this unconscious stream of thinking inside of ourselves, because now we're asked to look from within. And when we ground ourselves and we create that stability and come into alignment or harmonization of some sort, or bring yourself inner peace, you realize that, wow, where is that going? You know, it's like it's gone. Where did it go? Because now I'm focused on myself, and I'm focused on this moment, and I'm focused on what's going on here. And I'm coming to the realization that, wait, it's all gone. It's not there. Oh, wait, I have more self-control and awareness of my self-control with clear, calm, cool, and intentions than I do in that manic stream of thinking that might be happening to a lot of people out there now, and not necessarily in this room. So, you know, I just wanted to share that with people, because these are observations that we have the opportunity to look at in the morning and make a decision for ourselves on how we are going to run the day, or how we are going to rule the day, with the awareness of what the day is actually doing outside of ourselves. A lot of people don't even realize that they have this sense perception available to them on a daily basis, you know, and they don't utilize it. And these are one of the unique gifts that we have the ability to hone in and tune into, to create that inner stability regardless of our situations and what the fuck we have to do, and build more courage, fortitude, and strength from a conscious space than a reactive space where we're in survival mode, and we have the tendency to rush into a lot of shit, make a bunch of fucking mistakes, and end up regretting it somehow. At least those are the experiences that I've seen, that I've observed, you know. And I think that, you know, when it comes to this realization that, you know, perfection is realizing that you're going to fuck it up sometimes, you know what I'm saying? But you get back to it, you get right back on the horse, and you continue to do so. Spirit has gave me this example from the beginning of the teachings that I've been sharing with a lot of people. And it's like, when you realize how much strength and fortitude you really have, it takes a moment to only realize that in your childhood, when you were a baby and you wanted to walk because you wanted to be like everybody else, there was nothing standing in your way from doing that. And it came with lumps and bruises. There was really no fear. There was only desire. And from a pure and innocent space of wanting to associate with everybody else, wanting to become part of the community, wanting to be in acceptance because everybody else is walking around you. And you don't realize how much courage, strength, and fortitude, and an unfocus on fear and deep desire channeled into one thing literally caused you to rise, get up 40 million times to learn how to walk, right? And that same metaphor that we use as a baby, as infancy, literally getting back on our feet, it's like you've done this before, and there's nothing standing in your way but yourself, the issues and the problems that we create for ourselves, and the mental instability that is associated with not only this energy right now, but what we have been conditioned to be in the past, to think, to see things a certain way, and all that survival shit and all that you have to break the mold. And this is that deep desire that is building up in a lot of people, you know, through understanding creation and how it works and connecting to yourself. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. That allows you to sit in this space and calm yourself down, regardless of the energy around you, to see things clearly, because you know you're being informed of something that's good for you. You know, you have the ability to tune into that, right? So all it takes is a little bit of focus to release an unconscious stream of thinking, right? And if you start with one thing, you start to do it in many other things. Practice and repetition. This is how we understand that it's the spiritual way. You know what I'm saying? Through practice and repetition, we create our own perfection, right? Because the perfection is the realization that you already are what you're meant to be in this moment until you receive or you change things or you make a choice, to do something different, right? And the first choices that we have in any part of the day is to harmonize ourselves, especially when we're feeling some type of stuff outside of ourselves. It may not even be us, but we might be absorbing unnecessary energy or picking up on unnecessary things that distract us from the very focus that we need to be having, especially in this time. And a little bit of roughness and emotional insensitivity and responsiveness. Everybody's like, oh yeah, I hear it. It's like, oh, these things happen every day. And I'm like, exactly. But when you slow things down, you realize that they don't have to, and it changes your reality. It changes the way you see things. You actually desire more self-love and bringing yourself the inner peace and stability through sensation and realization than having a fucking kicked over the head revelation that you need to come back to. You need to do this for yourself somehow, to create the peace that you desire within yourself, because the peace within creates the peace without. And this is the essence of our environment. We create it for ourselves through our frequencies, through our vibrations, through our pulsations and our sensations. It's a feedback system, and it's a feedback loop for many others because they don't realize that stuckness is a thing, that it may appear as an illusion, all right, that keeps you in the same place, and you are under the assumption that you are also just doing that you're there, that's the way that things are going to be, when in actuality, everything is changing in every moment, in every day, with every breath we take. And it can sound overwhelming, but when you have the spiritual discipline to understand that, you can show it gratitude and actually learn from it to be able to live in a more conscious way, a more balanced way, an aligned way, and really, really fulfilling yourself from the inside instead of looking for things outside of you that turn into obsession, addiction, habit behavior. Those are all pieces that we put in, that we create for ourselves, that there's an inner piece of that we have yet to look at. And it's a deep desire for us to look into those things and see what truly drives us and really makes us passionate about being ourselves and what we do and how we're doing it, and a focus on such delivers a life like no other, because it's not an illusion, it's not a painted picture, it's a reality for yourself that you feel and flow through. Some of you might get the shakes. That's releasing tension, trauma. You know what I'm saying? You might feel vulnerable, insecure, but those are just thought forms, okay? Those are sensations that are inside of your body that are creating thoughts in your mind going, what the fuck is this? Or your body might be panicking or might feel unsettled in this moment right now. And it's the anger, it's the fear, it's the instability within oneself that is literally coming out in this moment, in these moments where we do these healing opportunities, where we give these healing opportunities for people to better understand themselves. You know what I'm saying? But I guess one of the best ways to absorb this is to open your heart and set it free in this moment, because this is a sacred space for you to do so. And all that nervousness desire turns into passion. What can I do today? How can I do this today? How can I do it in a more conscious way? How can I become more self-aware of my actions and my behaviors because I no longer desire to suffer? You know what I'm saying? Because once we understand something, it's no longer a part of our experience. So that means we have the ability to end any suffering, any anxiety, any fears, as long as we give ourselves permission to take the journey and do so. Well, I mean, I'm happy to help, you know. I mean, I'm happy to help anyone that's willing to listen, to be honest with you. That's why we come on here, because it's to awaken people, to enlighten them, to understand that there's a better way of living and a better way of life and a better way of looking at things, because we have so many limited perspectives and boundaries that are unnecessary in our lives. And as we release those safety systems or those survival instincts, the panic, the fear, the unconscious desire, you know what I'm saying? Passion misconstrued is what I always hear from spirit, and they're saying it right now. It's like you don't realize that your creative energy gives effort to anything that you're focused on. So whether it's an obsession, a habit, an addiction, or it's something that's beautiful, that's positive, that's loving, that's opening, that just drives you, that motivates you, compel you, it gives you whatever you want. You know, but we have to see, it's kind of like understanding the manual of consciousness is what Spirit just said, you know, understanding how this thing, the orchestration actually works, so that way you can achieve a level of understanding regardless of where you're at and walk through these things in a smoother way than most, because your desire is a smooth transition into something more and something greater. Like, and it's the creator's promise is what I just heard. You know what I'm saying? Like, literally, these are the things that were promised us divinely for a very long time. And even though the information seems esoteric, it is a very giving universe. And as long as we are compassionate to ourselves and are willing to take, you know, to step on that, to walk that walk or achieve that pathway, there's nothing but that you truly get to understand what deep desire actually is. You know, you get to truly understand what motivation and actually shooting for a fucking goal and literally digging deep and kind of like sucking all the shit out of yourself and clearing all that stuff so you could just be a better person and live a better life. You know what I'm saying? Like, where's the deep desire for that? And some of us have been so conditioned and so watered down and so whitewashed that we don't realize how passionate and how loving and how driven and motivated we are as creatures, as natural inhabitants of this universe, you know, of this land. You know, there's things organically that drive us and motivate us. There's things that we're curious about, and we don't follow those passions and those ideas when we're out of tune, out of sync, out of alignment, you know? And takes me back to the unconscious stream or the manic thinking that a lot of people have, not realizing that it's a lack of alignment or awareness within oneself. It really doesn't have to do with anything around you unless you realize that that's triggering you only to tell you to go within. So either way, you figure it out. You know what I'm saying? There's a yin and a yang to everything, and there's a smoother, more objective way, more positive way to do these things if you were experiencing these things. And you can almost feel like there's a release in your heart space when you realize that there's another way than having to do things a certain way that you've done before, you know? It's also part of the Creator's promise, that is that deep desire and that passion and that light and that control within oneself that allows these things to manifest in a more beautiful way, the way the divine creator intended it to be, understanding that even in the midst of panic and chaos, probably war right now, and you know, the diminishing of the human soul or the human spirit, we can rise above these things and be the thought leaders and the way showers for a lot of people, you know, for a lot of people out there, by just being ourselves in one way or another. You know, to embrace the fact that we're holy and peaceful, to embrace the fact that we're just not, we're part of the natural environment, and we need to know our place in here and respect the land and respect ourselves as much as we respect the land, because that's where we were created from. It's in our DNA. The science will tell you the truth of the past in one way or another, you know? And that's what you come to understand on this path, man. That's what you come to understand, that you guys are here for a reason, and you're here for something more, and you're being given the opportunity to know more, to do more, to be more, the way that God intended it, you know, the way the divine asks you to be, you know what I'm saying? Like, these things are coming through for a reason, because, you know, we're in that time of separation where we're separating the identity loss or the ego self in a way where some of us feel like it's being ripped away, but some of us are realizing that it's slowly tingling and waking ourselves up and actually pulling those things away one by one, bit by bit, construct by construct, is what Spirit is saying, for us to alleviate that pain, because we're not the ones to, we don't deserve to fucking hang on to those things. But we suffer for reasons, because of, we suffer for control reasons, and it comes from manipulation. You know what I'm saying? A power struggle, a dishonoring of the feminine and the masculine, and how they are intertwined and how they are balanced in one role. You know what I'm saying? One of the things I hear is God is everything, right? It's both male and female, source, creator, one. You know, it's both the divine feminine aspects and the divine masculine aspects encompassed into one. And in our hemispheres, we also have the masculine and the feminine aspects of ourselves. And it doesn't matter whether you are masculine or feminine. Some of us masculines are in our feminine, and most feminines are in their masculine, not realizing that the reason that they're displaced and the reason that they're suffering and having a hard time with life, or, you know, just kind of passive struggles, is because they're out of balance between the masculine and the feminine role, because it's been manipulated over time for men to believe that they have to be a certain way and do a certain thing, while women are like wondering why the hell men are doing what they're doing in the masculine role and going, Jesus, I'm gonna have to do this by myself. You know what I'm saying? So it's clear, when you have the ability to observe these things, that most masculines are still playing a feminine role, or in a feminine role, instead of an actual divine masculine one, which they're meant to be. This is how whitewashed we have been, you know, because even the women have things to learn, because they're in their masculine, and that's not where they're supposed to be either. It's a balanced harmony from within. You know, and some people are just convinced that they have to be brutish, and they have to be offensive, and they have to be in survival mode, and they have to fucking gnash their teeth at fucking people, not realizing that that is a fiery, masculine, toxic behavior. You know what I'm saying? Someone who's in constant survival, which is defending themselves under the illusion that they have to protect and provide, when they can't even protect themselves because they're manic and in fear. They're at an imbalance, you know? And I'm glad that we said it, you know, because it's about time that somebody does, because a lot of people are confused, assuming a role that they're not. And this is also a part of that identity issue. You know, redemption is what Spirit speaks. You know, redemption of oneself and one's alignment with oneself is a divine birthright. And each and every one of you that are paying attention have it, whether you like this or not. You know? We know you, we see you, you know, this is what we are. We're aware of all things around us, and this is what we're bringing into the present moment. We're sending a message that we can see you, we know you, we love you. But yet each and every one of you demise, you know, and this is also associated with negative thinking and the observation of negative thinking, and the fact that we should be more observant of our own negative thinking and our thoughts that we think. Because those things are a responsibility on the frequencies that we maintain within ourselves that create this physicality that we don't flow with life. We fight against it. And then we persevere over the fight, not realizing that all we're doing is cultivating strength for the awareness that is like, hey, dude, you don't have to fucking clench your fucking hands so much. You don't have to fight so much more. You know what I'm saying? Let God lead the way in your life. Let Source, the divine, creator, guide, spirit, your ancestors actually do something for you, because you guys are here listening to this for a reason, right? And this isn't, you know, it may seem forceful to some, but this isn't anyone imposing your will on anyone. This is actually a choice, you know? It's a choice to live more, do more, be more. embrace yourself with a higher connection and a higher awareness of yourself and enjoy the journey. You know what I'm saying? And with tutelage, guidance, and eldership, this is a divine responsibility. You know what I'm saying? Because we are so much more than what we've been led to believe. And that is the honest truth. And I speak that from not only personal experiences, but experiences through the mentorship space. Is that I've become very self-aware, if not more self-aware, of the very confines that trap a lot of people into thinking that everything's okay because they make it that way, not realizing that there is a deeper emotion inside of themselves that kind of makes them fucking cave in on that very statement, because it's not authentic to what we're, the truth of ourselves. And we can sense those things. And some people will call it your conscience. I'll call it awareness. Because if you know better, you do better. And if you have that deep pull to do better because you know better, then do it. You know, and this is what we've walked away from in the past. And now it's right here in our face where we have no choice but to make a choice. And realize that with each choice that we make, there is a consequence of some sort, right? Do we wish it to be a more positive outlook, you know, or a smoother consequence, whether negative or positive? Or would we rather like fight against the fence, you know, trying to break it down and try to force things like we have, well, especially when we come from a place of lack or survival mode, you know? Again, it all goes back to energetic imbalances and a lack of harmony within oneself. People not realizing that you're a crystal. You know what I'm saying? And you entrain, you can get programmed just as much as you can emit. And it's like, what do you want to emit? What is the light that you want to shine? What is it that you're truly asking from the universe? Are you asking for lessons, or are you asking for fulfillment? Either way, you're going to get both. Because with one hand washes the other, Spirit just said. You know, it's important for us to understand how these things work, because divine architecture is kind of a study, you know? Because when you know how you get to know how you work, you get to help others on how they work, because you see it within yourself. Because we're all mirrors, is what Spirit just said. We all reflect upon each other in one way or another, and we all entrain each other by the acceptance of the behavior, you know? And when they say that, it's like, hey, remember, we said it yesterday, there's a reverberation of every frequency around you, and they happen to harmonize within a moment when we give it permission to harmonize within us. That's the purpose behind the sound bowls, is to realize that it is this easily to entrain to somebody's way of thinking, somebody's moods, habits, and behavior with, and that's about as long as it takes a distraction to happen too. It can happen in a moment. And this is the choices that we face, not realizing that these are the things that we have to be mindful of, you know, because we can get distracted and end up on in a whole different time frame. And redirection is what they say. Reharmonization, in those moments where you start feeling chaotic, unstable, unsure, settle yourself. When people project upon you or put you in some type of hostile situation where your body's offended or you're offended somehow, plant yourself. You know what I'm saying? Don't take the devil's bait, is what I just heard. You know? Don't go on an unconscious journey only to come full circle and understand that things come around for a reason. Just to see what you're going to do with it the next time it comes around, whether you want to be done with it or not. We all have a choice, right? Welcome in. For those of you who are watching, welcome in. I see you coming in and out. We're just, it's just divine messages today, and a little bit of sound bowl healing for sound bowl messages for anybody who wants, who would like a sound bowl reading today. I am doing them, you know, on live, special for $22. You know, it's just a small donation, and you will receive a sound healing. Today is about stability. You know, I will be using a root bowl for the majority of today, you know, but I also do have the bowls, you know, because Spirit always asks for something different for everyone. If you're interested in that space, to get a sound reading and healing, I would be more than happy to do those things for you today. Welcome in, everyone. If you don't know me, my name is Jay. I am a sound and energy healer and a spiritual guide and teacher. I work at fourcornershealing37.com with the aid of my wife, Stella. You'll see her as Voice Between Worlds 33. We have many energy healing and alignment services. I am coming out with a new class called Sound Healing 101 to better understand frequency and vibration and to know thyself. We ask that people, you go to the website, sign up, subscribe to our email list so that way you can stay in the know and look at all the upcoming events and classes that we're going to be giving people to better, localize their understanding of what energy does, energy healing, sound healing, and also spiritual teachings and guidance. We have soul counsel available. We do soul retrievals and we take you on shamanic journeys as well to better know yourself, to pick up the pieces of the past and better understand where they fit. All those services are available to you on our website, and I would love to see any of you there or anyone that you think would be beneficial of the knowledge, wisdom, and the healing modalities that we share with everyone. Keep in mind, we do also have certification classes where you can learn these things yourself in a conscious, guided way through the path of spirit and the divine, and not so much the formalities or the technicalities that we have here with vision, sight, feels, sensations, or boundaries. Everyone, these things breed limitations, and what we ask is, we ask the divine to come in and channel these things for us so that way we could guide you properly, and that's what we do with all the services that we do. They're all divinely led and divinely taught. So, access to these things is available to each and every one of you. If you have questions about any of our services, you can reach out to us on fourcornershealing37.com. I'd be more than happy to assist you in any way. If you require consultation, guidance, we have that service available. It's called Soul Counsel. You're more than happy to engage in that space. And if you reach out to me personally, I'll give you a discount code so that way you could pay $22 less than what the service is listed for. But reaching out to me personally and DMing me in that space would be of your best interest, so just a little, kind of like a little promo sale. I'll be more than happy to give any of you a discount that are willing to come to the table and see what the divine has to offer for you, especially with soul counsel. Any questions you may have or any concerns about your well-being are also addressed there. So much love to each and every one of you. Stay humble, fam. Stay grounded today. Have a beautiful and blessed day. If you'd like a message today, just let me know, or I'm gonna jump off, because I'm here to serve the people, but I can only be here for so long before I have to move on to the next part. So it's just $22. The link is in the bio. Type done how you donated, and I'd be more than happy to do one for you today. Tanya, I saw you in the live yesterday. I believe you got a reading. I think it was I think I overheard it. Welcome back. Welcome back. It's good to see you around. I'm happy to be here. I think it comes in waves, man. It comes in fucking waves. And dude, we go, we learn our lessons, we come back, we go, I learn our lessons, we experience life, we know better, we do better, or we're stuck for whatever reason and we know we needed to know more, so we come back to the resources of the it's like the way they show me is like retrogrades, you know what I'm saying, where it goes out, it goes backwards, it comes back in and goes forwards. We don't realize that we're in alignment with those situations as well, especially when there are actual planetary retrogrades, because part of the realizations and the teachings that I've experienced was understanding that each retrograde will represent an energy, right? And with that energy, it creates a frequency, a reality, things that were in that frequency, right? So you actually go back to it to see one of two things, whether the fact that you've evolved or whether there's something to address there, only to move forward into a more conscious or better balanced way of living, right? And this is what the retrogrades teach us. There's technicalities like planetary conjunctions, the moon in your sign, da-da-da-da-da. But just a basic understanding lets you know that we move like retrogrades at times. You know what I'm saying? This is how we experience things, that we have to go backwards to go forwards. This is what eclipses represent as well. And we don't realize, unless we're paying attention to those things that happened around that time or that energy, that they are similar in mention, is what Spirit just said. You know, that we realize that it's kind of like, if you're paying attention, you're being checked to see if you're willing to evolve, or if you're going to grow, or you want to grow, or you're going to follow the natural patterns and rhythms of this galaxy, you know, or this universe, because everything has a natural rhythm. And this is what we're going back to. And this was part of the conversation that we were having today, is to understand that groundedness and stability is the foundation of your very spirit, of the spiritual self, of your abilities, of your ability to have discipline and commitment to follow your dreams, your goals with desire. You know what I'm saying? Not to drag ass and be complacent and sloth energy and lethargy, and I'm so tired and I can't take care of myself because I'm taking care of all this shit. You realize that in that moment, that the second that the fucking you start complaining about this and that and addressing these things in that unconscious way, it creates an automatic uncomfort inside of ourselves. So we got to bring ourselves back, kind of like what retrogrades do, to become present again, to realize that we're not that person anymore, and that there's a better way of looking at this instead of freaking the fuck out. You know? I mean, that's the easiest way that I could say it, right? You know, you don't realize, you don't know till you know, but you have to try. You know, that's how you open the doors, is what Spirit is saying. It gives you the opportunity to realize what's happening and understand the spiritual architecture and the beauty of rhythm, and what happens during these times astrologically, and how they associate to human consciousness and our human gifts. You know what I'm saying? That are given to us by the Creator. You know? There's more of an inward focus now than there ever is, because now when we realize that, you know, there's an internal issue, there's an internal malfunction, there's a flaw in my thinking, my boundaries, or what it is that I'm holding to. Now it's a time for a deep evaluation, but I need the stability, and at least the sensible comfort and foundation to be able to take on these things in a more conscious way, where I'm not fucking overreacting or over responding to a situation when I realize that that is all I've ever done. And even though that it may or may not have shown improvement, it still brings me uncomfort. So there's a better way. There's a more balanced way. But again, when we manifest this energy up, we realize that it creates a lot of unconscious tension within ourselves, and it causes us to feel a certain type of way. We start breathing differently. We can feel hypertension. Our body starts to fucking squeeze. And it's like you realize that that is a signal from the emotional body, from the being, that is letting you know that you're headed in a direction that doesn't serve you, in a direction where you suffer, or you struggle, or you fight, when in actuality, the harmony that's behind you, that you allow to flow through you in that moment, you know what I'm saying, to change the energy and allow it to become something else, is usually that moment where we just go somewhere else, and then we have to come back to it again, and then we go somewhere else. And you know what I'm saying? And distractions are everywhere. Distraction is key, because we're just as much as there is a positive opportunity, there's also an adverse effect. And depending on what your alignment is, you're more in tune or more inclined to go to the adverse effect than the effect that takes you somewhere, than the effect that brings you joy, peace, that frees up diseases, imbalances, you know what I'm saying, that allows the lymph system to flow again. You know, and these are messages that I'm receiving in this moment, because it's you know, I believe that lymph system is coming up heavily and deeply in your space, ma'am. You know, with your permission, I would like to kind of like give you a little bit more information on that, if that's possible, and Spirit would love that for you, as long as you're in acceptance of it. Okay. So they're showing me a lot of energy right here, sis. You know what I'm saying? You got all this buildup right here. They use the thyroid, you know, as an example, and the lymph, and which also you need a nervous system reset and a cleansing. You know what I'm saying? A cleansing of the lymph. So there's going to be some physical herbal stuff, or herbal remedies, or natural medicine that are going to be recommended to you in one way or another, you know, to be able to clear these things. And I'm not sure, you know, they could be saying, I don't know if you're familiar with herbs, or you're familiar with the, you know, mugwort is what they're saying. But, doing some research and understanding that there are some physical ailments that need to be addressed with the emotional process that we are having, because once the energy is free and clear, there's an emotional process, but also there's a physical process where we have to alleviate something in the physical. So you're not only doing it in the spiritual and on the energetic plane, but you're also doing it in the physical, and this is what's being asked for. There's a detox that needs to happen here, a cleansing of the lymph, a rebalancing of the nervous system that needs to happen, so things aren't so chaotic, and the body is not attacking itself anymore. You know what I'm saying? Spirit is saying that you're in a sense of survival mode, because the body is continuously in some type of disease, chaotic disorder is what's being said, and it's a sensitivity to that very suffering that continues to perpetuate the emotional value behind it. I'm stuck, I'm broken, I'm unsafe. you know it's a perpetual fear that creates a deep desire or a deep disease within ourselves. And when we release or have an understanding of these things, we become more inclined to release the emotional self, or release the pain behind it, or the suffering, or the survival instinct that we have, the poor me mentality, where I'm broken or feeling broken of some sort, where the body is actually manifesting that in the moment, and your mind is experiencing that suffering. You don't realize it. You have to understand that you are the awareness of the fact that the body is in a certain position, because the body is speaking to you and letting you know that there is a cleansing, a detoxification, an emotional standard that you can no longer carry. Burden. Does that make sense? Yeah, yeah, yeah. We don't, bro, I'm gonna be real for a second, if I may. Disease, bro, we don't realize, and this is what I've realized in men, but it happens in women too. The more we close off our hearts because we don't want to feel something, the sicker we become. That's why heart disease is such a fucking a vile thing. It's because we don't realize on it from an energetic principle or an energetic standpoint that we're holding on to shitty emotions that literally do nothing but poison us. And the more closed off we become, the sicker we become. The more we start to erode and age and all those things, because there's no vibrancy anymore. We've cut it off from ourselves. You know? And when you understand that, from my space, you wonder why people aren't more inclined to fucking alleviate themselves of the very things that ail them. You know? When you're being called like that, if you have a disease, it means put yourself first. That's exactly what it means. You've gone too far. You're too far out there. You have to point your direction towards the sun, towards the light, one with God again. And here we are, displaying, showing, and demonstrating to people that they need to reconnect with the very thing that they are too, which is the earth and sky, the sun. And we need to embrace those modalities within ourselves, because that's what reconnects us to the divine. It's what really connects us truly to ourselves as one, as a community, as people who live with compassion, love, and understanding, people that are more harmonious and joyous, instead of choosing the negative road, or the ego self, or, I'm better than, or comparison, judgment, all unconscious behavior from us not knowing who we are, the giant identity crisis, the phenomenal one. We're living the fact that we're spirits in a body, and these are very harsh realizations for some, because it's the fact of the matter that in the physical we are somewhat poisoned, but we can reverse these things and alleviate these spaces, and even change our DNA with willingness and intention to learn and grow in a conscious way. Bring more balance and alleviation to our lives, and watch how you can physically manifest change as you learn and grow. And this is what these classes are for. You know what I'm saying? Because there's not one of you who aren't worthy of that or deserving of it. Whether it's here or there, it doesn't matter. This is that divine message. This is that divine call. This is that divine understanding that it's like, hey man, you're God's people. And you don't bow to no one. You know? And that changes the way that you look at everything, and it shows more promise, and you realize that you have literally changed the way you think with a form of saying yes to something that you don't necessarily understand, but you know that you suffer without it. So you're more conscious of what, I'm going to go this way because I don't want to live like this anymore. Because I'm tired of it. And then you realize that you've created your first boundary. You fought yourself. You created a healthy boundary within yourself that's going to take you to the next step of your own spiritual understanding. You know? And these are the things that we have seen time and time again with people, you know, and explain to them the divine orchestration behind it, the who, what, when, where, why, and you get to experience the how and relive it for some, you know, only to take the reins of your life and understand that our version of control is a fucking illusion. And it starts with how the brain likes to fucking take everything as for its own. You know, it starts there. And that's what stability and foundation and groundedness with associated awareness and a change of perspective allows you to change and have more self-control. Therefore, creating more groundedness, more stability, and more willingness to understand what it is that's actually being given to you and not being taken from you. Unless you want to, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, in that respect, Tanya, you know, we all reach that moment in our lives where we realize that the benefit of investing in ourselves, regardless of what it's going to take, is going to drive us to the promised land and give us a better line of well-being, a better quality of life. It's guaranteed. That's a promise. You know, but you know, and you know, if you're falling apart, if we're always falling apart, or we're always vomiting shit out, or we're always spewing our discontent, then what are we giving? What are we asking from the universe? What are we asking for? More. Only to realize that you can stand up and say no more. And then all of a sudden, what? Hold on a second. I feel better by just making that clarification, by making that declaration. Because I am not doing that anymore. I want to learn. I want to live. I want to love. I want to learn. I want to grow. You know? What's up, Mr. Burke? How are you, sir? You know, I don't know what happened to my music, but all I know is that it was interrupted somehow. Don't know why, don't know how, but I know everything happens for a reason, and I'm grateful. Why, thank you, man. I love delicious treats. Nothing like a piece of chocolate anymore. And it sucks because I usually give the kids a hard time about fucking eating any candy before lunch. Here I am. Okay. Well, Dad's gonna skip that rule. What's up, Megan? Okay, sir? You're just okay. I think that was relative to the collective energy that we were talking about. Is that, you know, we gotta study our bodies, right? Because our body is like, or our awareness is our first line of defense, right? And if you're slouching down, bro, and you're like this, and you're like, what do I do? Okay? That's a clear sign that your body is telling you, don't sit there. Okay? We're going to keep it real. We'll keep it real easy. Right? So when your body is like this, because you're feeling some type of way, that is your first fence of awareness. Where it's like, wait a minute, hold on a second. Not puff up your chest from a place of ego, but stand up to what you're feeling right now and become more self-aware and realize that this is pulling you into a place where you don't belong, and that's why you feel that way. Right? And that's how we turn things around. And that's just one way of many ways. Not everybody's the same. You know, that's why we respect the lineages and the lines of learning. You know, thank you, Tanya. You know, when you realize that it's like, oh, you don't have to feel that way. Okay, this is something I learned for myself. Okay, especially in the morning where my mind was all over the place, just like we talked about before. If I'm feeling some type of way about the shit I got going on, I'm the one who has to take a look at it, but I got to take responsibility and accountability for myself in that moment. So I need to step up. I need to stand up. I need to rise above the emotion to be able to navigate properly, because the emotion will carry away. You are more than welcome, Tanya. Thank you. You know, when are you going to, bro, I would love to have you in a mentorship space there. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, I don't know how many times it's come up in my head, man, about, yeah, discipline and, you know, understanding these things to get a better gauge on your life and what's going on, and not, you know, not being so chaotic and out of control, and balancing yourself and becoming more self-aware, right? You've gone through a very profound awakening not too long ago, you know, and it would be beneficial if you decided to take another step in that direction and understand more about yourself and your understanding of yourself and what your gifts are, because you have many. You know what I'm saying? And they're buried underneath bullshit, but they're there. And we can show you how those things are actually working in your life to get a better gauge of what control actually looks like instead of codependency. You know? Yeah, I've said it before, Mr. Burke. Find people that'll build you. Find people that'll motivate you. Find people that'll cheer you on. That's what true friends look like. Find people that'll tell you the truth and are willing to stand in the fire even when you don't believe them. That's me, boy.
Corey Lynn had that experience yesterday. She goes, I remember 2 years ago you told me this man was coming in, and I just looked at you like you were a bum-ass fucking liar. She's like, I hated you for that. Telling me that some man was coming in my life 2 years away. And she goes, here I am. With the man that you told
that
me
you said
was coming in 2 years ago.
That I didn't like you for.
That I didn't like you for because
And now I have to let that go.
So cute though. She's just laughing at it. She's like, I should have known you were right. And I'm like, yeah, that happens a lot.
Yeah, it happens a lot. It happens more than we know.
I love it. You know, that's the same thing with Corey. Corey's like, no, everything you said is right. Everything you said is happening.
Yeah. He's a true witness to exercising that which no longer serves us.
Yeah. No, he started. Yeah, we work once a week together.
Yeah.
He needs you though too.
Yeah, we need to hang out, Mr. Burke.
Yeah.
You should see me at least twice a month.
I'll just switch those times over to you.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, we can make things happen. You can understand so much and learn and not be intimidated by me, man. I'm just a man like you, at least from here. And we can see.
You can know what he knows.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, you know, if you consider that, let me know. You know, we can work something out. I'll be more than happy to engage that space with you. Actually, it's been something I've been looking forward to be honest with you, man.
I'll just trade places with you.
You know?
Or he can have...
Absolutely. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it another time. You know what I'm saying? Just, anyways, you know, stay tuned for the next and upcoming events that we have coming up. I got a couple programs coming out. Again, you know, please reach out to the website, subscribe, so that way we could email that to you. You know, you could stay in the know and, you know, check out any benefits, discounts, or services or events that we're having. And y'all stay grounded, fam. Stay stable, stay safe. And remember that when you're in the unconscious stream of thinking, you're manic. Okay, and the body responds differently. So if there's something that chips your shoulder today, just remember, try to recenter yourself and ground yourself today. Give yourself a little bit of a challenge, you know, because we need those things too in our lives. And purpose is a very beautiful thing. And when we give ourselves purpose, we enrich and enlighten ourselves. So y'all be easy, fam. Tanya, thank you for your donation once again. Much love to each and every one of you. Have a beautiful and blessed night.